Greetings. Okay, so in answer to yesterday's post about everything falling apart and going to hell in a handbasket, and therefore, it's logical that people would have suicidal impulses, as well as murderous impulses, as well as impulses to escape into drugs and any other kind of thing. There's another way of looking at it. The way I look at it, and what really helps me, is that really I'm involved in a spiritual war of epic proportions. That's what I'm doing here on Earth. I'm in the war is spiritual, not material. So I just try to do go where I'm led. As far as like passion, dreams and all that of vainglory here in this realm, to me seems, rather, I guess I can lean back a little bit. Now I'm in the studio, so I'm very happy here. But the problem I have with it is that we only live a certain amount of years, so the idea of building up prizes, for people to go, oh, what a great guy he was, blah blah blah, in order to have a legacy, which is basically vanity. Okay. See Ecclesiastes 12 in the Bible. It's the best chapter written on vanity in the entire world, in all the world. And, of course, written by Solomon, the wisest man in the world, who received wisdom from God without repentance, even though he lost his kingdom through dabbling and messing around with witches and stuff, and trying to learn the secrets of the occult, and fooling around with stuff he shouldn't have been fooling around with. But anyway, that's another story. So I never had that much motivation, and I remember in high school, I used to love reading. I was always excelling in, English and English lit analysis, and, the humanities mainly, but in stories and in characters. I've been analyzing them. I remember just in my earliest my earliest school days, I used to love to analyze characters, why they would do what they do. And I kept coming back to a character based on myself who did not have the proper motivation, and they say, well, your ass and your head are not wired together right. Well, I don't. So what's the big dream? And the big dream is, sorry, and not meaning to insult anyone, but I really just don't take it seriously, because I knew from a really young age it couldn't be real. People really can't be that cruel and mean and disgusting and abusive and perverted and sick, because horror movies don't even get close to you can eat blood and guts. That's nothing compared to the real deal. The real deal is up here. Instead, as the late great Stanley Kubrick knew so well in his Eyes Wide Shut and also Lolita, it's all up here. And he was, thank God for him, because he really explored that whole aspect of the mind involved. He was probably the best person to show, and even in The Shining, how portals open, and to other worlds that want to seek to control what's going on in this world. Okay, so AKA The Shining. So I really, in The Shining, of course, the ghost there wanted to control the living and cause another bloodbath. It's pretty simple. And so that would say that, well, then he was doing a movie about the spiritual battle, and these people lost because the spiritual. So for me, okay, so even at a young age, I didn't have I wasn't, quote, following the Lord. I had a idea that there was a God, you know what I mean? That there was a creator. I had that idea, but I didn't, it was kind of abstract. I was like a lot of you and a lot of people in the world. I was trying to do my own thing and solve my own problems, but I was, desperately failing all the time because I was unable to overcome my own flesh. It was just, but who is manipulating the flesh? Who's manipulating my mind that's making me want these things that are not good for me, or making me want to be tempted into opening portals through, sex, through drugs, through whatever, means that would then lead to serious bondage from the other side. When I say the other side, what do I mean? I'm talking about the realm you can't see. I'm talking about, the opponent in the spiritual battle that is trying to defeat humanity. And so it does not surprise me at all. A sip of the old iced tea here. Mm. Doesn't surprise me at all that when finally they've ripped the covers off, and yes, what we discovered during COVID, and of course, many of us knew way before that, but what COVID brought out was the fact there's a small number of people that want to destroy um, humanity. They want to destroy all humans. They want a post-human world. You know, the scientific dictatorship, the technocratic society, who believe they are the rulers and they will tell us what to do, who want to use humans as lab rats for their gene therapy experimentations when they're at the same time involved in bumping people off. And they've decided that humans are no longer necessary. And so they're seeking to kill all humans, not you're not 5 billion and leave a couple billion. All, all total, all. So now that's been revealed. Not by me. That's they've revealed it to us. The people who are in denial, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. They're just deluded and they're gonna stick with Disneyland, and they'll wake up one day and be dead. So I'm not talking those people. Sometimes I envy. They're so into the world and into the beauty contest and into the achievement and into the plaque on the wall and all those things. And I've never had the proper motivation because I could see that already. And so, obviously people were very upset with me because I would not buy into the contest. I wouldn't, compete in their stupid follies. I wouldn't enslave myself to chase a dream, to achieve a goal, because in the end, I had no goal. And they say, "Well, why are you doing, films? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" Because I'm led to do it by the Spirit. I don't know where it's going. I don't have any, anything that happens in terms of the hello, anything that happens is always a surprise to me and a welcome surprise. As far as the blog goes, the Zeph Report is now kind of morphed into the Substack. The Substack. Who knows where this is going? We're on kind of a new journey right now, but I'm really happy to bring to you this idea that it's a spiritual battle, and you can use movies about obsession and things like that. Usually, the people who are obsessed are always falling. They always end up failing, or they resolve the obsession and they get over it. Okay, so if you take Buddhist philosophy, it's they really says the desire of man. Okay, that it can include perverted, weird, lustful, greedy, all kinds of desires, is the ruination of man. And the end of desire equals a happy person, an enlightened person. It's all about desire. which you can also call attachment. And so I knew, knowing that, it makes it difficult. Like you'd say, why do you, what is it you're after here? Nothing. I didn't ask to be born. I was born, and maybe I did in another form, but I've forgotten it at the time I was born. And I could see that humanity is caught up in a battle. There's an invisible force, a invisible giant realm that seeks to take over and promises humans success in exchange for souls, obedience, reverence, worship, dedication, lives. And I don't know anyone that didn't really go that direction, and so they wind up, if they don't straighten out, if they don't change course, then of course their lives are taken, just like the hawk taking the rabbit. Boom, gone. The rabbit doesn't even see it coming. And many of them think falsely when you're young that you're pretty invincible, that you made the right decision and they're not going to ruin your life. They're going to give you, because you're going to do for them. You're going to do your evil and get away with it and get boosted and then be lorded above your peers. You're going to be somebody. You can be a big man, big macho man. Tell people what to do. Be a big boss man. And it's, to me, looking at that, I enjoy that in crime movies. I'm like men proving themselves, being men. It's the only place you can see that now is in the movies. But the thing is, it's based on a false pretense. It's based on the idea that this is real, and this is not real. So I don't take it seriously. And I've had to kind of really walk the walk lately during my illness, and they gave me about 50 other illnesses I didn't have. I mean, you don't even know the half of it. But I could easily say, well, take up the mantle of victim of the AMA. You know what I mean? A victim of their shoddy practices and their incompetence, and become totally litigious or whatever, and it could ruin my life. Or I could, seek the Lord and seek answers in the ether, seek answers in the spirit. And if indeed is a spiritual battle, then in this particular parrying, the enemy on the other side, and that's the enemy of all humanity. Not, I know it looks like, when people conform that they're your friend, but they're not your friend. Uh, those are sometimes the first ones to go. So that's what it is. And I prefer to be accurate. When I think of it that way, of course, I'm not suicidal. So I had been suicidal before, but then my horizon was not broadened until finally not only did I put God into the equation, but or God put me into the equation and taught me everything that's going on. And when I finally saw that, and got it really understood, it came time to put it into practice. Like I said, the best practice was being under siege in the hospital and being helpless and having being at the behest of them and people that were possessed and people that don't like, and when I say that, the hatred and the persecution that comes to people, if you do your own thing, they'll persecute you. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just it's a broad, it's broad, but it can be proven. I've proven it to myself every single day. I prove just through existence and through reflection on who said what to whom and what happened there. I'm always able to not just analyze it, but come to the conclusion that it's a spiritual, the war is spiritual, and that we're in a war. WAR, war. I wish I had a board here I could write down. War, war. We're in a war, okay? And that war is, they say, for the soul, but the bigger picture is for the wiping out, the destruction of humanity. And we're in a war to survive. And there's then there's God, and there's the idea of vanity, and there's the idea that why would God put humanity in a situation like that if he's a loving God? And the answer is the book of Job. Please go read the book of Job again. It's the oldest book in the Bible, and it's the book that explains that sometimes when bad things can happen to you. Okay, now listen up. There's a couple of you need to hear this now. When bad things happen to you, you know, that doesn't mean that you're bad or you did something wrong. That's a Buddhistic idea, you know. It's a Buddha idea that bad things happen to you. You must have bad karma. You must have deserved it, or putting it under the uh, sort of rubric of you know, and rules of you. Well, you reap what you sow. You must have sown something awful, and now you're getting payback. Well, I'm sorry. My nature is awful. My nature is evil. If I don't keep it in check, it's gonna do me in. So my own nature is aligning with the other side. My flesh is aligning with the other side. It wants to be tempted. It wants to be euphoric through drugs. It wants to, you know, have you know, let go, and it wants to be cool. It wants to have, you know, it wants to self improve and have a good reputation, and all these things that have nothing to do with me, but have everything to do with my own vanity and destruction. You know, an innocent vanity, you know, an achievement. Most of the achievements people make in our society ruins the person. It ruins them when they make the achievement because they don't know how to deal with. They've immediately there's jealousy around them, right? If someone becomes a, you know, celebrity, or you know, a famous author or whatever it is, there's immediately this problem of jealousy, temptation. The flesh goes wild, being tempted, being tempted by others to do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do, having access to, you know, great, you know, halls of sin where not only does anything go, but exotic sins are cultivated and presented, and you know, and then you know, lust for power and blah 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 blah. I could go on and on about that. And then you know the you know, good is the person if there's no acknowledgement of the achievement that's been made, you know, for an individual, like in the book in Girl Next, like with Heinrich, there was no acknowledgement. And so he's out to prove himself that he's worthy of being praised. Well, my friends, the reason I don't want to advocate that particular path is that will lead to a suicidal impulse. You know, if not being acknowledged by the world can, you know, after you've worked so hard, can become another, you know, avenue towards self-destruction. And all these dangers are there pretty much 24/7 because they're also within. So what's hooking up is this outside force that can hook up to what's in you. And then, you know, basically it's the serpent. You know, you stomp its head, but it bites your heel. You see what I mean? And this endless, you know, match of you know, it's this endless circle of calamity and confusion, to where you know the way out becomes through consciousness, through God, through repair of the heart, and through repenting of sin, which again doesn't solve it. It's you, while you're here alive, you're keeping it at bay. You know what I mean? All of us are can succumb. We shouldn't blame each other too for falling into sin if we do, because it can happen. But the reason we stay out of sin isn't to be a fuddy-duddy or a prude or some sort of, you know, prideful person. Oh, I'm better than everybody else. I'm not going to sin. See, I don't drink and you do. And so therefore, no, no. The purpose of it is to not open portals, not make it easier for the enemy to take over. And when they take over, some people, they just go their whole lives and they never get out of it. They never break away from that initial contract that they made with the devil. I mean, for lack of, that's what it is. And parents force their kids into it because they want their kids to be successful. And this kind of vanity is the evilest. This is based on pride, and that's what Lucifer is. Lucifer is basically, cast out and cast down because of pride. And so there it is. And anything else with pride, there's like, yeah, why would there be that? Why does there have to be pride? Because pride is the signature sin before a fall. It means that you cannot change. A prideful person is going to think, even if they're wrong, they're going to insist they're right. You know what I mean? You probably know people like that, and they're going to get their way. And reality doesn't bend, doesn't prove their point because they're not being real. So, conclusion: as you see that we're in a spiritual war, not. I believe we need to stop the rhetoric of a spiritual battle, okay? Because it's not just a battle, it's a war. It's a war of in the heavens, and it's a war upon the earth. And as I said, there's that intertwining. Of course, the Bible explains it the best if you can break it down. If you don't have the Holy Spirit, you can't read the Bible, okay? Because it's not going to open up to you. And so and if it has opened up to you, then you must have had the Holy Spirit. It must be God wants you. So you see how it's just never going to be your idea. It's never going to be your mind. It's never going to be your your effort. You're not going to save yourself. You're not going to distinguish yourself amongst the men, amongst the society, amongst the men and women. You're not going to be um, you know um, uh, and in many cases, a lot of the people that have achievements, they're fake. They're not deserved. There's other people that are better than them, but they were chosen because they would do the propaganda. They would spout the mind control. They would be influencers. The earliest influencers are Satan's minions. But of course, Satan hates humans. So in the end, they have to have a what? A non-human world to please their master, ultimately. And that's where all this leads. So knowing that is the greatest relief of all time. it's the it's the it's the greatest depressurizer of all time, you know. And there's other things in the Bible that you don't. Some of you may not have read it, and you don't feel led to, but there's a lot of wisdom. And one is, I've noticed certain principles, like when people make a conscious effort to stop sinning because of God and because of who they really are, and because they're going to prevail. The spiritual war is also singular. It deals with me as an individual and you as an individual. It's not collective like the group of us, because nobody in the group is going to stay consistent. If you say, okay, we're all going to go on a fast and stop sinning now, and we're going to get the favor of the Lord. Some people will completely screw it up. Other people will try to turn it into evil. Maybe a couple will, abide and do what they say they're going to do, but it won't be cohesive and it can't be blessed. No, it's an individual battle. It's within you and between the universe of you, which is vast, and God, which is vast. And it's really a reconciliation from a fall that happened earlier that's in your genetic memory, but you don't really You don't really relate to it because you don't have a conscious memory. You have a genetic memory. You have a cellular memory. Okay. And but once you know what it is, you know, then you can decide, okay, do I play the game or not? Do I desire fame and fortune or not? Why would I be, you know what I mean? And some people are like, well, this was like the old thing we had we used to surf, you know, I mean, grew up on in the beaches of Southern California. And, you know, I was pretty much a daily surfer, you know what I mean? I just made me feel good. But anyway, you know, the the thing is, there became this dichotomy between the two of things of the as the boards were getting shorter, there was the acrobatics, the competitive surfer. There's trying to win the contest and do the carving and jumps and aerials and all that. And then there was the soul surfer. It just didn't matter about people. They were out there just because they're the happiest when they're in the ocean and in that vast beauty of God's creation, and they're riding waves, and they're just nothing could be better. They're completely satisfied. And so they're called soul surfers because they're not going to be competitive. And then people look at them kind of askance, like, well, to God, dude, did you just drop out of society? I mean, you know, you're good enough to be in these contests. I prefer not to. I don't need the contest. You know, life is a contest, and many people lose. They make a bet based on ignorance, and you know, it's a good way to lose. So, um, but anyway, to lose the suicidal impulse forever is to see the war on the earth and in the heavens as a spiritual war, that you're born into a spiritual war, and it's there from day one out of the womb all the way to the day you die. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can take steps, you know, on the journey. And the journey leads to, you know, pretty much the opposite of all this. It's quite extraordinary. I can't explain it to you because it's too big. It's the worlds that are, you know, the world that emerges in the end is too big. It's like we don't see any of it. And then as we are on this path, we start seeing, oh, there is no death. Oh, there's this eternal world. Oh, I'm already eternal. And it's not even about what I do or don't do. It's really all about God and about wherever He's taking us. And we're just all we are is overjoyed with euphoria and true spiritual bliss, which is knowing that you're taken care of, knowing that you're loved. Right? When you know you're loved, you feel you belong. Well, when your mother and father forsakes you, when your friends turn their back on you, when you know what I mean, when everything seems to go against you, this is not normal. You didn't do it. It's not your fault. And then when the ensuing depression and victimization and suicidal ideation and self-destructive ideation and need to sin and need to get even and anger and trying to focus it on some enemy out there, another human, um, you see that you've fallen for you've taken the bait. You've fallen for the plans of the enemy. You have become you know, a programmable robot or even an NPC character for the other side to use and do. And you know, you're simply doing their bidding in the hopes that, you know, you won't starve to death, because you're told if you ever deviate, they will pull the plug on you. And this is a lie. That's a big lie. It's a big fat lie. No one's going to pull the plug on you. It's you know, just further propaganda and intimidation from the enemy to say that, you know, once you're in, you're never going to get out, and that's not true. It's not true. You're out as soon as you actually see that, you can see God, can see the Lord, can see the truth, can see the reality. The moment you can see it, you're out, because you if you can't if you can see it, then you can't play the game. So He got you out. It got you out, if you like. And I hope that helps. I don't know if it'll help or not, but a lot of the times when I'm feeling like I should be afraid and run away and things like that, I just want to hide when I feel like that thing is mounting up too much, and I just justify going and doing some thing like trashing myself with drinks and whatnot, um, to alleviate the pain. I just constantly rest in this understanding. And when I do that, I can't take it seriously. I can't, there nothing is so dramatic. Oh, woe is me. Everything is lost. I must open a vein now, no, that just becomes absurdity. It becomes clown world. And they deserve to be laughed at. They deserve to be mocked and ridiculed. Absolutely. You've got the Jesus did a lot of that mocking. He uh he was able to cut right to the chase in his terrestrial form, and God being with us on earth for that brief time. But the thing is that in the end, in the end, there isn't some um, secret winner's circle that you can get to on your own that gives you immortality. And the only reason that you want to put plaques on the wall and do all this legacy shit is because you're immortal. And if you're not immortal, then you become a clown. You're absurd. And I remember, well, we don't have time for that. We're at the end of my rope here. I don't know if they're going to allow me to put this up, but let's say they do. And we'll see you next time. I know these lights are all in the way. They're all shining into the camera. Sorry, but here I am. I'm here with you. We're gonna win. How do you win? Um, just by seeing, by understanding,